here are the words new Australians need to repeat when they reach the end of the long and torturous bureaucratic process to become an Australian citizen. I affirm my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I uphold and obey. But who needs that old-fashioned stuff in these days of globalism and cultural relativism? Don't pledge allegiance to us, our laws, and the people. Threaten to blow us up instead. Zehra Duman was an Australian citizen with Turkish parents who went to Syria in 2014 at the age of 20 to marry an ISIS jihadi called Mahmoud Abdulatif. She has 2 young children, but none of the stories about her adventures in the caliphate are clear about who the father or fathers are. Abdulatif was killed 5 weeks after she exchanged vows with him. Some reports say she's had 2 more husbands since then. On a website encouraging other Australian women to follow in her dainty footsteps in 2015, Duman warned the Australian government not to prevent her sisters from doing as she did and leaving Australia. She wrote, quote, "Let the truthful Muslims make hijrah," which is travel to Syria. "If you don't, you're only adding fuel to the fire," which means attacks on your soil. She also told the Daily Mail Australia, "The next time I will ever step into Australia is when we come and make it a part of the Islamic State, Bithnillah," which is the permission of Allah. "Oh, and do I miss my family? Well, I think you will miss yours soon. Thank you, and have a great day, mate." Some years later, having run out of options and living in a refugee camp, she decided that, on second thoughts, the caliphate wasn't all it was cracked up to be, and maybe life among us infidels wasn't so bad after all. 2 years after that, in 2019, as she and her children were still in a refugee camp in Syria, Peter Dutton, as Home Affairs Minister, revoked her Australian citizenship, using authority granted to him by his own government's recent legislation. That's when she started pleading for Australia to instead rescue her, and started to downplay the significance of her earlier life-changing decisions. She said, quote, "2 weeks before I came here, I was clubbing. I wasn't religious. This guy I used to like from high school, he was good looking and stuff. He said, 'Look, I'm in Syria and it's not what you think. Come and get married to me and I can give you a nice life.' Didn't quite work out that way. So anyway, she wound up applying to have her citizenship reinstated. Naturally, the government fought it in the courts. But late last year, the new federal government withdrew its opposition to the Duman's case because the laws Dutton used had been deemed unconstitutional by the High Court. Last week, that decision was formalised and Duman can now return legally to the country she recently threatened to attack.